Yo! Whoa!
Does he have money?
No.
Where's the nunchuck?
Yo!
I ain't listening to the United States Army during wartime. Desert Storm was going on. You know, for you young people, it was a war.
You enlisted in 1990? You said? Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I enlisted during wartime. So I enlisted to be a paratrooper. When I enlisted in the United States Army, I knew I wanted to jump out of airplanes. That's all I wanted to do. I thought that was a job. Like, oh, what do you want to do? I want to be airborne. I want to be the guy with the maroon beret and jump boots. And the recruiter was like, okay, but what job do you want? I'm like, I thought that was a job. You know, it sounds like a job to me. Jump out of airplanes, go shoot people. He was like, no, you get to have a job. So I didn't know what to do. This is why I tell people, remember we were talking to that young guy who wanted to be the best model or whatever. I was telling him, like, you got to learn that world.
You got to know what it is.
I didn't know. So I'm sitting at the table. And I had a really high score. So when you go in the Army, you have to take what was called an ASVAB test. I don't know if they still have it.
I think they still do. They lowered it, though, if I'm not mistaken, to get more people in.
Yeah. So back then, they didn't.
It's basically a competency test, guys.
Yeah, it's the Armed Forces Vocational Aptitude Battery. I think that's what it stands for.
Armed Services,
Vocational Aptitude Battery.
Yeah.
So everyone has to take that test. Based on how you score on that test, they offer certain jobs to you. I had a pretty good score. I went to a public school. I was a knucklehead, but I was the knucklehead who knew stuff, right? I watched documentaries and stuff like that. So I knew enough to get through school, but I didn't really apply myself, right?
Yeah.
But I scored well on this test. So I'm ready to get up from the recruiter's office like, man, I don't know. I'm looking around, looking at the pictures. You see the guys with their M16s and they're out, you know, they're like in the Black Hawk and, you know, they got the faces painted and they're smiling.
It looks cool.
It looks cool. And I'm about to ask him, like, maybe I'll do that, like 11 Bravo. Like, that's infantry. But before I could get it out my mouth, the recruiter was like, hey, do you want to be an air traffic controller? I'm like, yo, the Army has that? And he's like, yeah, he's going through his book. Yeah, I guess they do. I'm like, the guys in the tower talking to airplanes? He's like, yeah. Can I be airborne? He's like, yes, you can be airborne. I want to do that. That changed my life.
Wow.
That afternoon.
That's
in
simple.
1990.
That
in
moment.
a recruiter's office, you're what, 18 years old at this point? 19?
18.
You were 18. Okay. Wow.
You
That moment.
You didn't even know what it was.
I knew what an air traffic controller was. Again, I was the kid who watched documentaries. So where everybody else was out in the streets, I didn't get into the streets until I was like 15. 14, 15 is when I started getting in the streets. Before that, I'm watching PBS. I'm watching like all the educational programming. You know, I'm listening to old people. So I knew what an air traffic controller was. Back in the 80s, the air traffic controllers went on strike and Ronald Reagan fired them. And I remember that.
Okay.
That was a big thing. So I was like, I knew what an air traffic controller was. I didn't know exactly what they did, but I know they're in towers and I know they talk to airplanes. That's all I really knew.
Right.
Come to find out, it is a really good career. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know.
Yeah, it is.
So I get in the United States Army. I'm a paratrooper. Now, for those of you guys out there who want to take that route, you want to join the Army, Navy, Air Force,
Can you
Marine
also
Corps.
tell them what a paratrooper is, too?
Paratrooper are those guys who jump out of airplanes. Think Band of Brothers. Think of that, you know, that TV show Band of Brothers, the 101st Airborne Division, the 82nd Airborne Division. They're paratroopers. There's a YouTuber out there called the Fat Electrician. He does some really good breakdowns on who airborne are, you know, who the SEALs are, who the Rangers are, all that stuff. I work with those guys. Didn't work with too many SEALs, but I worked with a lot of Green Berets, a lot of Rangers, and other stuff like that. So because I was airborne, because I wanted to be a paratrooper, I knew I was going to go to Fort Bragg. I think they call it Fort Liberty now, but it's always going to be Fort Bragg to me. I'm sorry. That's where I served. In
North
Carolina.
Okay. All right.
So the way it works in the United States military, especially the Army, when you enlist for something, the Army will guarantee your training. It's in the contract. You sign a contract with the Army. This is what you're going to do. Everything's contingent upon you completing your training. Okay. So you got to finish basic training. You got to finish advanced training, which is your job or whatever. Then I had to go to airborne school. I had to finish that. So everything was guaranteed. If I failed anywhere along the lines, they could put you anywhere.
Oh.
They can put you anywhere. So you fell out of air traffic control school, they can make you a cook.
Yep.
You know,
put you in infantry,
door gunner. It was wartime, so that was like the running gag. I went to Fort Rucker, Alabama for ATC school, air traffic control school, and there's also door gunner school there. Like that's like the home of aviation for Army Aviation, Fort Rucker, Alabama. And they would always say, yeah, if you watch out, we're going to send you to door gunner school, and we're going to send you right over to the desert because the war was starting.
Yeah. Oh, hell no.
And they said that's what they did in Vietnam. You watched out of this, you wind up being a door gunner. And I mean,
can you tell people real quick what a door gunner is?
A door gunner, those guys, they're in the door of a aircraft, more likely a helicopter, like Chinook or a Black Hawk. and you are manning a gun, a machine gun or maybe a minigun, but you are hanging out of the door shooting at stuff while they're shooting back at you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever touched a helicopter, but they are very, very thin. You throw a rock hard enough, it'll go through the skin of a helicopter, it seems sometimes. It ain't like in the movies, they be bouncing, the bullets bounce off. Nah, they go right through the helicopter.
Wow.
They go right through the helicopter.
That's what killed Kobe. I'll never get on a helicopter after that.
Okay. I need you to put a pin in that. Mo, don't let us forget, but at the end of the show, when the cameras go off, I was working that day.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I was working that day.
Oh.
So
okay, we can definitely talk
off,
about that. Oh, you don't want to talk about it?
I mean,
stick to the end, ninjas.
Yeah, stick to the end. We might get back to it. We might have to do that on Rumble.
You guys deal with
that might be a Rumble exclusive.
Oh, really?
Okay, cool.
All right. Because that's not a because obviously as air traffic controller, you guys run helicopters too, right?
I was working that day, and we'll talk about it on Rumble.
Okay,
y'all
cool.
stick around if you want to hear. If y'all want to hear the sauce.
Okay, we won't do it on YouTube. So sorry, you were talking about what a door gunner is, and then you were talking about washing out, and then you were in Fort Bragg.
Right. So I made it through everything, and I just wanted to make that clarification. If you're going to enlist the United States military, I suggest the Army, because that's the only branch at the time, and I think it's still true today, that will guarantee training. You join the Marine Corps, they put you where they want to put you. I think you join the Air Force, same thing. Navy, same thing. I think anybody out there in the chat can set me straight. It's been a long time since I've been in the military, but at the time, the Army was the only branch that guaranteed training.
Okay.
So I was guaranteed air traffic control school so long as I didn't wash out or nothing. I didn't fail nothing, and I didn't. It was close. It was close. That was a tough school, but I got through. Went to airborne school, Fort Benning, Georgia.
So you went to air traffic control school first, then you went to the paratrooper school.
Then you go to paratrooper school. So you go to basic training first, learn how to be a soldier, learn how to fire your M16, learn how to break your weapon down, whatever. Then you go to your advanced training. For me, it was air traffic control. Did all that, and then you will go do any of the additional training, be it airborne, jumping out of airplanes, air assault was like repelling out of airplanes. That's you got all these other kind of schools out there. We'd be all day talking about these other schools. So I got through that. Got through airborne school. I'm happy. I'm a paratrooper. That's what I joined for. I'm jumping in. I'm like, all right.
How long was your contract that you signed? 4 years or
4 years?
Okay.
I did 4 years. So I did all that within my first year. So I get to Fort Bragg. They let me go home. Like it was like around the holiday season, right after Christmas time, whatever. I got to go home.
How old were you back then?
I was like 18, 19.
Okay.
When all this started. So I went home for a little bit, like a couple weeks, and then I went to Fort Bragg. Got assigned to Fort Bragg. So I get to Fort Bragg. Right, this is the home of the airborne. This is where, if you're in the Army and you're high speed, if you're one of those dudes, like real trigger pullers, right? This is home of the Special Forces, the Green Berets.
Yeah.
This is home of Delta Force. That doesn't exist. Delta Force does not exist, but I can tell you where the compound is. I know where they train. Like, they don't exist though. The worst kept secret on the planet, Delta Force. And you have all kind of other special ops. Everything tip of the spear goes through Fort Bragg.
Okay.
So Fort Bragg is part of, when I was in, it was called like the Quick Reaction Force or Defense Ready Brigade. They call it something else now. But basically, the guys at Fort Bragg can be anywhere on the planet in 18 hours or less. So, I know you're a fan of Russia, but I'm not. I trained to fight Russians. So
Of course.
Let Russia get too froggy, and Putin will wake up one day and the sky be full of the fucking 82nd Airborne Division just landing in his backyard.
Oh, shit.
Talk that shit now, homie. Now, we here now. So, same thing with the Middle East. Why you think Egypt and Jordan and the rest of them are like,
of course.
And just a quick side note, when Jimmy Carter was president and there was the Shah of Iran fell, right? And they took American hostages, they took the embassy. You probably heard about this. Like, this is back in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
And there was a mission to get those guys out. They authorized Delta Force to go in and get them out. But
Reagan took all the credit for that.
Even though
it's Jimmy Carter that negotiated everything, that's a little secret that no one talks about.
Yep, and
Jimmy Carter did all that. Even though he was one of the worst presidents in American history, he did actually negotiate and get that whole deal going. And then Ronald Reagan took all the credit, bro.
Yeah, you know why Jimmy Carter did that? Because he was Navy. That was back in the day when our president served in the military. He was Navy. So that mission went tits up.
Yep.
There was a problem in the desert. Some helicopters crashed. Like, the operators were lost. They couldn't go accomplish the mission. The mission went tits up.
The movie Argo was based on that, if I'm not mistaken. With Ben Affleck, guys. If you guys want to get a kind of like a...
He snuck so many people out.
Yeah. The movie Argo is based on that. Sorry.
So here's the thing with that mission that no one really talks about. You guys can look this up. I'm not lying to you. part of that mission was the Delta was going to go in. They were going to get into the embassy, do the shit that they do, kill the bad guys, get all the good guys, put them on a bus. Now you got to get them out the country, right?
Yeah.
So you got to take them to some airport somewhere, right? Well, someone had to go get that airport and secure it.
Yeah.
United States Rangers.
Yeah.
The Rangers had already taken the airport before this mission went tits up. So the Rangers had invaded Iran, taken the airport, and was waiting for Delta to bring the people back so they can get the hell out of there.
Of course.
They had, it was some bang bang going on with the Iranians, and they secured the airport. They allegedly took a busload of people. They were just like, what do we do with these people? Like, I guess we keep them here for now. We'll let them go when the mission's over. Then they get word, screw up the mission, get out of there. So they took the people allegedly with them and they left. We went in there, took the airport, did some bang bang, had some Iranians, took them with us. Mm-hmm. Go look that up, guys. You think I'm lying? Go look that up. So a lot of people, when we talk about America and I get excited about our military, I got to work with these dudes. Like I was walking around with these guys. These guys go anytime, anywhere, they'll go get it done. So yeah, I love the military. I love my part in it. So I just wanted the little side note on that. But got to Fort Bragg. When we get to Fort Bragg, you got to go, any unit, you got to go to what they call a replacement company. A bunch of people get there, kind of like our waiting room for the city groups. Make sure you
Castle
guys
Club, man.
Yes,
Castle Club. There's a club in there, man.
It's like replacement. So I'm standing there in replacement, we're in the formation. It might have been, 100 of us, right? We knew the war was going on. It hadn't started yet, but with the build-up, guys were going over. So we're standing there. And they start calling out names. They might have called, 20 names out of this formation. About 100, maybe 200 in formation. They called out maybe 20 names, 30 names, whatever. We call your name. We want you to go fall out and stand over there. My name was one of the names that got called. I fall out. I'm over there in a little small group of us over there standing there. So we're thinking, we're like elbowing each other like, them fuckers going to war over there. You know what I mean? 'Cause that's the big formation. Like, they're going to war. So we're like laughing, standing there like, bye. And so they turn to the big formation. And they're like, all right. When I tell you to fall out, go back to your barracks, go see so-and-so, go do this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. Fall out. Then they turn around to us. You lucky bastards, guess where you're going?
Damn.
So like, where? You guys are going forward. Your units are already over there, and you're going to be joining your unit. Hood. That's like that's how the Army say, yeah, like, hood. We're like, hood. Damn. We're going to war. It's just us. Just us, like 20, 30 of us, whatever it was, just us. We're going to go join our unit that's already, in country. So they gave us like all of our shots. They were breaking the rules. Like it's supposed to take you a while to get all your shots and process out, but they got it all done like ASAP. It's the only time in my life I ever passed out. They gave me so many shots.
Wow.
I passed out in my bed. I woke up like 18 hours later. And they were like, where you been? I was like, sleep. They sent us back to Fort.
Were you nervous?
I didn't get nervous until I got there. I didn't get nervous until I got there. And I mean, I knew I always wanted to be a soldier, and soldiers fight.
Yeah.
And we went to war, so I didn't have to enlist. And think about it. I left at a time in the streets when things were getting really hot in the streets. So I knew what I was doing. And as it turns out, I was safer in a combat zone than I was back home. I'm writing letters. Yeah, we used to write letters, y'all. We ain't had that email, internet shit y'all got now.
Yeah, this is early 90s.
Right. We're writing letters. I'm writing letters home. I'm getting letters back home. So-and-so got popped. This person just got locked up. This, you know what I mean? And I'm over here like, so how are you doing? I'm like, good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dodged a couple scuds, you know what I mean? Some random sporadic fire here and there. But other than that, we over here chilling. Dusty.
Yeah, dusty.
So that was it.
So where'd you end up going in your first duty location when you went?
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. So you
Went
touched
to the
down in
war.
Saudi Arabia first.
They sent me straight to war.
Okay.
So we left Fort Benning. They put us on a Northwest 747. I'll never forget. They chartered Northwest Airlines 747 jumbo jet. It's full of all.
So you landed in Saudi Arabia because we don't have a base there.
King 5 Military Complex is where I landed. KKMC. I landed King 5 Military Complex.
Do you have a base there now or no? Because isn't that something that Saudi Arabia always said we'll never let you have a military base?
Yeah, but we ran
please let me know.
Yeah, let us know. We ran their stuff, so
Yes.
it wasn't technically ours, but it was ours.
Because we were responsible for protecting them because that's the whole deal with the petrodollar. So
yeah.
And
George Gammon has some thoughts on that. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Sure.
But so we landed King 5 Military Complex, and then from there, they will break you up into smaller groups, find out where your unit is. My unit was just outside of Rafah. So like we're like Riyadh or whatever, and my unit is just outside of Rafah. The road, it was called Top Line Road because it was this long ass pipe that ran along this road in the middle of the desert.
Real quick, just so the audience knows, because we're assuming that they're going to know this. What conflict are we talking about? Who was at war? What was the issue with it? And can you just tell them the geopolitical background of that conflict?
It was Desert Storm.
Yeah.
It was the original, right? It was the first in the trilogy, and we had a trilogy now, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
It was the first. It was Desert Storm. So Saddam Hussein had a beef with Kuwait. Saddam Hussein went in to take Kuwait. Now, I haven't really researched it too much, but from what I understand, Saddam had a legitimate beef with Kuwait. I mean, I don't think he was wrong for what he did, but there's an agreement.
Yep.
America has to protect a lot of countries over there, Kuwait
Especially
being
Saudi
one of
Arabia.
Saudi Arabia.
And that jeopardized Saudi Arabia's national security.
Yes. They were afraid that Saddam, and keep in mind at this time, Saddam's army was like the third biggest army. They had like the largest armored force. They were constantly fighting with Iran. They had a lot of combat experience. And
There were threats to Israel as well.
Yes, and he had the Republican Guard. So like these guys were combat hardened, combat ready. They, like they knew what they were doing. So when he took Kuwait, got all the oil and everything, and now Saudi is like, oh, this dude might come over and do something to us.
Yeah.
George H.W. Bush, president.
George Bush's father, guys.
Yes.
Who was director of the CIA prior to that.
Prior to that. That's the guy who, Iran-Contra, and, they shot out the Free Ray Ricky. That's how he got all his money. Came through, him, Ollie North, and all that. So he was president. And he was like, we're going to go over here. We're going to stop, Saddam. He kept calling him Saddam Hussein. Like, we're going to stop Saddam Hussein.
Saddam. Oh, my God.
Go look up the video.
They're a bunch of country boys from Texas.
Hey, they are, boy.
The Bushes.
The Bushes. Now.
Oil family.
Oil, big money.
Yeah, big money.
So George H.W. Bush, I have a lot of respect for him. Navy, aviator. That guy fought in the Pacific, got shot down, lost 2 of his crew. And then he found out later as president, 2 of his crew members it was 3 of them on board. He got shot down. He landed in the water. The crew members landed on land, occupied by the Japanese. We were fighting. This is World War II, guys. I know we're jumping around, but stay with us. And George H.W. Bush never knew what happened to those guys. It was one of his best friends, actually, who just happened to be, hey, I'm about to go on a bombing mission. Do you want to go? And he's like, yeah, I'll go. So I would never do some shit like that. But hey, so his best friend, and then, George Bush is flying, and then he had his navigator or whatever back there, and they're doing their thing. They get shot down. He never knew what happened to those guys.
Wow.
Fast forward, decades later, he's president of the United States. He's going over some documents. He's going over paperwork. He comes across the names of those 2 men, and he found out how they met their end. Mm-hmm. And if they were captured by the Japanese, they were tortured, and allegedly there was some cannibalism involved.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a horrible way to go.
Yeah.
So imagine you're president of the United States, you're doing your thing, and all of a sudden you figure out what happened to your homeboys while you're sitting there, right? Still got to take care of the country, still got to take care of the world. So this is the guy that sent us over to the Middle East.
Yeah.
And we, so U.S. forces were mobilized. They sent the 82nd Airborne Division there first as a speed bump. Whenever America goes to war, this is back in the 90s, early 90s, a lot of protests and all that kind of stuff, but we still went.
Yep.
And what happened? Well, America got to showcase their stuff, right? That's when we found out about the Patriot missile. That's when we found out how good the M1 Abrams tank is. That's when we found out how good, the Bradley fighting vehicle is. That's when we found out all of our technology.
Our last conflict was Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken.
The last major conflict was Vietnam, but after Vietnam, there was Panama, there was Grenada, then there was Panama, smaller things.
Yeah.
And then like special ops stuff.
I was gonna say that was special ops stuff. So like we didn't showcase like the military might, from a more general perspective.
Yeah, since Vietnam.
Okay.
So you got all this. You got the like the F-14 Tomcat. I think that's when the F-16s were online. So, laser guided munitions, cruise missiles, all that stuff. You look at it. I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, but we had a lot of shit to sell. We was like, hey, look what we can do.
Yeah.
Who wants one of these?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we went over there.
It was a showcase for the military-industrial complex.
Yes. And so that's to set the stage. That's what happened. So that's, here I am, this kid from Cincinnati in the middle of the desert, in the middle of Saudi Arabia, you know what I mean, on the border, doing our thing as an air traffic controller. And so yeah, we were there. I got to meet the culture. This is why I don't go to the Middle East. You know, no offense to y'all over there, but I don't fuck with y'all, man. I don't. Y'all do you over there. I'm a, you know, what you say? Stay over there. Stay over there.
Yeah, hashtag stay over there.
Yeah, stay over there. If y'all come over here, you do what we do. But I ain't coming over there to party.
Yeah.
But people tell me things have changed a lot since I was there.
Saudi Arabia's they've definitely they're trying to become more westernized and bring tourism and stuff. They're looking at the UAE and they're like, well, they're bringing a bunch of money over there, so yeah. But sorry, so you were in Saudi Arabia the whole time. They're doing the air traffic control.
I was there, and they didn't have a lot for us to do. Whenever a war back then, whenever there was a war, all of your officers want to go because you want that combat time.
Yeah,
that's for your career stuff. So everyone wanted a piece of this war. We were over there, had nothing really to do. Yeah. We had tactical teams. Later on, I was on a tactical team, but back then I wasn't. Our TAC teams were out doing shit. I know one of the guys I was on our TAC team.
Were they in Saudi Arabia? Were they in Kuwait? Where were they? Were they in Iraq? They were all over?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were where they needed to be.
Okay.
So one of our guys, real good guy, shout out to you, V, wherever you at, bro. He was on the team, and they were where they were. And it's just 4-man team, no heavy weapons, really just our sidearms, M16s, whatever you got, you know, your sidearms or whatever, 45 or 9mm, whatever you're carrying, and maybe an AT4, a law, some hand grenades, whatever you can carry, right? And it's nighttime, and he said, man, I heard this god-awful noise coming. Just this noise, you didn't know what it was. It's the metallic noise. It's getting closer, closer and closer, and he can figure now, it's close enough now, it's like, man, that's a tank. NVGs, batteries were dead. So couldn't really see. You can hear it. And if you ever been in the desert at night with no moon, it's like being in the closet, bro, with a hood over your head. You can't see
nothing.
Damn.
So you can hear. So they're like, "There's a tank coming." Right? So there's like 4 guys. Bro, it's a tank coming. We're not ready for this. And it turns out that tank was French Foreign Legion. The Foreign Legion was sent to protect their flank. But because their radios were down or whatever, and they couldn't tell them the tank was coming to protect you, all they knew was tanks are coming.
Yeah.
And they didn't know what to do. And then, you know, the legionnaires show up. It's like, oh, all right, cool. So just an idea of how jumbled war can be.
Of course.
You know, fog of war is terrible. A lot better now, more technology. We can see everything now. But back then, it was still kind of, you know, Stone Ages. So, yeah, I was over there, and we did our thing. We never had, we never really got to do a mission. Mm-hmm. When the ground war started and we were briefed, so our mission was to set up a dummy airport real close to a airport that we were going to be using for supply missions, and our job was to turn on all of our equipment, all of our ATC stuff, all of our tactical stuff. So the Army has everything tactical, like everything you can see at the airport, the Army has on the back of a truck. So you can, you know, tower, radar, all this kind of stuff. They can do whatever they need to do. They want us to turn on all our equipment, so the Iraqis would see us, fire at us, and keep fire off of the real airport that was over here that was doing the real work.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Right. And it's like, you're like, oh, got you. I mean, this is a bullshit mission. Yeah. Like, it's
setting you up, man.
Right. This is follow orders, right? So, and I remember we were packing to, you know, get ready to move. We're going to convoy to our position and set up. And the one thing that I remember from my time over there was we were moving crates of body bags. You know, I'm just like, you know, it's like human remains. That's what it said on the crate. Like, these are body bags? They're like, yeah, load them up. And it's like, these are for me. Like, I'm loading, like, these bags, I'm going to wind up in one of these bags after we go over here and turn on our equipment, because they're going to triangulate on our position.
Was it American bodies, or was
this is our body bags?
Oh, it was ours. Okay.
We're just packing up our stuff, getting ready to move.
Yeah, it wasn't an enemy. Okay.
No,
did any of your friends pass away during this period of time where, like, you were there?
No, none of my guys. There was some friendly fire incidents over there, but none of my guys were involved in that. Luckily, like all our guys, we had a guy who wanted to go home. He got tired of being over there. He wanted to go home. So allegedly, you know how you have the universal weights thing, you do the pulleys and the plates, the little plates go up. You know what I'm saying? Like you're doing the pulleys on the weights, and then he pulled them up, put his hand in there, let the weights go. Allegedly.
So that he can get a medical discharge.
He went home.
Oh, wow.
They sent him
Crushed
home.
his hand.
I saw his hand. It was all pinned up and everything. I remember I saw a dude in our unit in Bragg when I was going over, and I was like, why are you here? And then when I got over, they told me about dude.
Yeah.
So allegedly that's what happened.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't never want to go home that bad. I'm gonna just
where you got to do that shit.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Not only that, you'll get in trouble. Like
They can prove it. Yeah,
if they could prove it, that's a dishonorable discharge, a criminal investigation, all that.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So
And
so
the military
Desert
courts are not as nice.
no. So Desert Storm, we thought was going to be real crazy, but our technology was so superior that it went like that. Like the missions went so fast.
Yeah, Desert Storm was not long conflict. What, 2 years?
What? Man, bro, after we started, it might have been like 4 days.
Okay.
Really, bro? We dismantled their army. Look up Road of Death.
Okay.
Desert Storm Road of
Oh
Death.
yeah.
And we destroyed those guys.
Yeah.
Storming Norman Schwarzkopf. He was in charge. He wanted to make sure that thing was swift.
But would you say what, like the whole conflict, like between beginning and the tensions rising, what, a year, 2 years?
Maybe a year and a
See,
half.
this is good because you don't get these in books. You're seeing someone that was actually there talking
Yeah.
about it. The actual
So you're saying
timeline.
once we had boots on ground and we were over there, days, it was
good.
done. Obviously,
I
the
left-
leading up to the conflict was wasn't long, but
I got there January 91. I was home by spring.
wow. Okay.
And I was supposed to stay extra because I was one of the last guys there. So well, look, we're gonna let everybody else go home. You're gonna have to stay over here with this equipment, put it on the ship. I was gonna be there. I was supposed to stay there for another 3 months. But then another guy wanted to do that. He wanted to do it for various reasons. So I got to go home.
Okay.